The Texas.
Yeah.
Texas.
Just try to stay on mic. We're rolling. So
are we?
Just,
I didn't know.
We're just.
I didn't know we were.
We'll just start going right from here.
Yeah. Okay.
So you woke up.
You always
jacked?
do like an intro.
Sometimes.
No intro.
Yeah, we just go.
Realworld Tactical went no intro, man. That's messed up.
No.
I want to hear. This is Mark Bell. Mark Bell. That he always does.
We're here with Tony Sentmanat. Is that how you say your last name?
Sentmanat.
See, I fucked
Well,
it
you
up.
always.
That's why I don't do an intro.
Mike, him. They always kill my freaking last name.
Anytime you have stuff to remember, you have stuff to forget.
That's absolutely
So I don't.
correct.
So my notes are right here, and it's empty.
But you know what? Though? At least you spelled my name right.
Yeah, that's
was good.
Smokey.
Oh, okay, Smokey, you spelled my name.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Appreciate
He's
that.
he likes to pay attention to details.
That's good. That's definitely very important.
So you woke up shredded this morning out of nowhere?
Not shredded, but yes, I woke up leaner than I would like to be at this present moment.
Have you done any bodybuilding in the past?
In regards to like the trying to get bodybuilding,
just training to for hypertrophy, just trying to get bigger. Because
I've always done hypertrophy.
Thick.
Yeah, I've always done it. It's always been part of my program, but I've never really concentrated like I don't know, Ben. You know what I mean? Like that's all they do. You know what I mean? It's never been part of my regimen since of my job.
You like more athletic stuff, explosive movements, things like that?
Yeah, that's always been my thing. I hate running. That's one thing I hated. And then in the military or in SWAT, you have to freaking run so damn much.
You were in the Marine Corps.
Yeah, that was the Marines.
And that's a lot of running, huh?
Yes, they run you to the freaking bone.
How much did you weigh when you're in the Marines?
Wow.
I mean, it's probably a long ass time ago too, right?
Yeah, 1998, 2002. So from 18, I was 22 when I got out. I was probably getting out of the Marines. I wasn't really that small, but after boot camp, I walked in the boot camp, probably the biggest guy there. And I was probably about 215, 220. Came out of boot camp, I was 175, 180.
Shit, man.
Yeah, it's like SWAT school. SWAT school is the same thing. I walked in. I lost 15 pounds to get into SWAT school. Trained because in SWAT school you run easily 7 to 10 miles a day for 3 weeks. Easy. Plus 4 hours calisthenics. So. I walked in there at 215 and then I lost 15 pounds in 3 weeks. Walked out at 200 pounds. I actually have the picture. I'll show it to you when we get out of here.
Do you still do a lot of that training? Like the calisthenics and some of the different things?
I do sometimes. I do so much of the jumping and the body type, explosive movements. When it comes to like, let's say calisthenics, for example, side straddle hops or jumping jacks, what people would know. Right. I don't really do that often.
Intensity's too low.
Yeah.
The stuff you do, the intensity's a little higher.
Yeah, I'll do hurdles instead of doing jumping jacks. You know what I mean? So it's a variation of the same concept.
I've seen you eat shit on those hurdles pretty bad every once in a while, man.
Once in a while, every day.
Shit.
The tighter you get, what people don't realize is that
I mean, it's bound to happen. You do so many of them.
Exactly. They see on Instagram or even on YouTube, you get 10 minutes to see what I did for an hour and a half to 2 hours of training. And it's after, let's just say in hurdles, I start off at 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet, explosive jumping.
Right.
When you get to 3 feet, 4 feet, you've already done 40, 50, 60 jumps.
Gotcha.
You're going to get tired. Your body at one point is just not going to make that, whether you jump it the wrong way, whatever it is. And
those are some of your most popular videos where you're just like, people, I guess, want to see you eat shit here and there.
That, you know what, I would say people like to see individuals that they're a certain stature. They want to see the struggle that they've been through. I think that's like the most common, because everybody always shows all the good. And I've never been a believer of that. I've been a believer. Right. Yeah, I like to show everyone, I'm here now. I've been doing this for 22 years, but here's a little couple of clips of what I've gone through to get where I'm at. Yeah. And if you don't show that, then you're not lying to them, but you're just showing them the good. You're never showing them, hey, it takes time. It takes hard work. You know what I mean?
Because somebody might go try that workout and they try it one time and they're turned off by it right away because they're like, I can't do any of the stuff that he just did. Well, of course they can't. They're not used to it. They're not used to it. And then a coordination factor, obviously. Yeah. People want to start jumping at 3 feet. They can't even jump a foot and a half. Do you have a lot of people that want to jump in with you, or is it too crazy to where they're like,
No, when I'm at knockout zone, usually I'm
What's knockout zone?
Knockout zone is my resident gym.
Oh, okay. I thought it was some sort of like zone that you get into.
No. When I'm at KO Zone's a gym down in Miami. It's my resident gym. It's owned by Diego De Vera. He is my partner in a lot of stuff that I do, and he's my coach, trainer. Cool. He's also a 2-time world kickboxing champion and a Pan American world Muay Thai champion and South American Muay Thai champion. Shit. Yeah, he's about $100. I don't know. Right now he's probably $175, double hip replacement. both of his hips.
But you're still terrified of him.
Yeah, I wouldn't, it's ridiculous. He's 42, and I mean, I've seen him, he takes down guys that are 22, 23 years old, double his size, and pro fighters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that guy is hard as nails, you know what I mean? Hard as nails. And whenever I'm there, usually I go there just to train. Most of the people there don't, when I start doing my stuff, they don't really want to bother me, so, but I've had every now and then I'll have someone that's like, hey, can I train with you? But usually when I explain to them, I was like, listen, I have a certain program that I have to follow. So I can put you through some stuff, you know what I mean, and see where you're at. And then I, on the side, and then I help them out. As they're doing their stuff, I do my stuff,
You do have something specific, though, that you're following. It's not just, I mean, it kind of looks chaotic when you watch it.
Everybody always says that. They're like, oh, he's just putting stuff together. It's like, no, that doesn't work.
Because sometimes you're like pulling a truck, and then you're pushing a prowler, and then you're like jumping through tires, and then you're throwing them.
Yeah.
But again, also, too, that's just one part of your workout. That's, I'm sure, with the setup and everything, it might take some time, but it is just a piece of your workout, or at least a piece of that workout for that day.
Correct.
And I think you mentioned you go through it maybe once or twice, kind of depending on how intense it is.
Depending how intense it is, depending if it's 70% load, how heavy it is for that day, what am I doing, and then they only
There's probably a lot of thought that goes into it, basically, right? Because you're like, oh, I did a tire yesterday.
Yeah.
Not doing it today.
Yeah, the program, all of my programs, and I try to explain to people, are 12 weeks. So 12 weeks, those 12 weeks, I break it down and in 3s and 2s. So whatever I'm focusing on those 12 weeks, 3 times a week.
Right.
And then the supplementary, like we talked about yesterday, is twice a week. So if I'm working on strength is going to be 3 times a week. Whatever I'm doing, whether it's accessory work, moving strength, that I say moving strength is then functional strength, where I'm, having to do something while I'm moving, heavy loads. And then you have the speed, explosive stuff for 2, or cardio, for example. You have that 2 times a week when I'm working on strength. Those are 12 weeks. The next 12 weeks, now I change. Whatever I gain in strength for those last 12 weeks, I try to maintain that while I'm trying to work on cardio and so on and so forth. And then it just keeps changing on and forth. If I'm working on powerlifting these 12 weeks, I'm going to concentrate on that and then just put the cardio and other stuff on the backside. But the whole goal is to try to maintain and not lose any of it. Because what happens is, as well as I do, when you focus on something, on one thing, everything else goes to shit. And you want to try to avoid that. Especially for me, that I'm considered, the hybrid athlete that does both things.
Gotcha.
MMA too. Don't forget the MMA. You got to do the MMA.
Yeah, you're doing that as well.
Mixed martial arts, and then I do the tactical training.
And now
as well.
You want to get into some powerlifting.
And now some powerlifting. So because for me in the beginning, in my 20s, I never really did powerlifting in regards to those type of numbers. My goal was always to be able to lift double my body weight in the big 3, which obviously chest is always the hardest one. But I've been a pretty decent bencher, so I was able to always get double my body weight in benching. And then squatting and deadlifting is, double your body weight. It's not that hard, so.
What makes you want to work this hard? I mean, like, you're doing a lot of crazy, like, I watch it and I think I work out hard, and I'm watching, I'm like, shit, man, this guy's really tearing shit up. What's he doing?
I would tell you in the beginning, as a law enforcement officer, people's lives depended on whether I was proficient at my job and whether I was physically fit. My biggest fear was to be inadequate, be that guy that wasn't prepared and someone's life was taken because I wasn't good enough, because I wasn't tactically prepared, because I wasn't physically prepared. Now it's more of a fact of 2 main things. One, you always have to lead by example. So I travel the country teaching law enforcement, in military, obviously civilians, tactical training. In law enforcement, you can't tell police officer, hey, do this, and then not lead by example.
Right.
So I have to show them or demo everything that I'm telling them to do, and I got to do it better than them. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the big motivators, that I have to stay in shape. I have to stay tactically inclined, and and be good at mixed martial arts, already in the fighting aspects, because it's part of police work.
Yeah.
And then the other aspect is when everybody looks at me, whether it's on social media, whether it's on anywhere, here on a podcast, I'm a direct reflection of every single police officer, every single Marine that has ever put that pin on his chest or wore a badge. When they look at me, they see that's how a cop should be. That's that kind of shape. You know what I'm saying? That's a Marine. That guy was a Marine, and or he was SWAT, and all SWAT people should be like that. So I take that personal. I take that to the fact of I'm not on the job anymore, but I'm still the guy that people see and say, well, that's that's what they should be. You know what I mean? Like that. You know, so that's, I think, what mainly motivates me in regards to, you know, even though I'm getting older, I don't know how much longer I could do it for, but I'll keep trying.
You try your best to live by that code throughout the rest of your life, because it's got to be hard. You know what I mean? Like just being in public and just how you treat other people. Like it's not always easy to have a cool head. It's not always easy to be the tough, guy that everybody looks up to, right? It's difficult.
When we all have problems.
Right.
We all have personal problems. We all have issues. We all have family issues. And yeah, it's hard sometimes to put that aside and to be with the public, you know, and be nice all the time or whatever. But it's part of the job. If this is what you signed up for, you signed on the dotted line, this is what you wanted to be, hey, you better be nice to the people that support you, that buy your products or that you inspire, and then they want to talk to you. I've always tried, anybody has ever met me, I try to my best. Whatever you want to talk about, ask me what you want to ask me. I'll take 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, doesn't really matter.
Right.
But I'm going to give them that time because you know what? I could have driven 4.5 hours to come see me. You know what I mean? And that means something to me, you know?
Did you have a mentor or something? Somebody that, or is it maybe part of your upbringing that led to you? It seems like you have a lot of heart. Most people don't really, you know, I know going through the Marine Corps can teach you a lot and stuff, and people that are kind of have the mindset to even go in the Marine Corps in the first place, they probably have at least some discipline going in. Yeah. But still, was there like a mentor, or was there something just in your childhood that you saw? Like you mentioned in your own words, you said the other day you grew up in the hood.
Yeah.
And then you ended up, I guess, basically kind of protecting that hood later on, being a police officer.
Going back there.
Is there something like happened when you were young where you're like, you know what, I don't really want to live that. I want to live this way.
Oh, obviously, yeah.
You know, I want to kind of go almost like opposite in some way.
I saw,
or did you live that way and then you transformed?
Yeah, I mean, I saw the struggles that my mom and my grandmother went through as I got, you know, as a kid, you know, and you see the struggles and you don't want those same struggles for your family when you grow up, you know, and I saw a lot of the stuff that we talked about, you know, my family, relatives and stuff like that, things they went through.
Right.
And I was part of that for some time. So I never wanted that for myself growing up, like as an adult, you know, I had to, that's why I ended up going to the Marines. Just wanted to get out, you know what I mean, of that lifestyle, and try to better yourself in whichever way you could. That's why a lot of people, when they say, you know, they blame, because I grew up in the bad neighborhood and I didn't have no choices. You always have a choice. You always got a choice. It's just how bad do you want it? And there's tons and tons of multimillionaires that lived, you know, there, and then they got out. They did what they had to do. They worked hard, and it's what you want. It's how bad do you want it.
I was thinking about it, you know, a couple days ago. I was thinking, and I've said this before, you know, I grew up in the same house as my brother. You know, my oldest brother passed away, had drug addiction issues, talk about it often. I grew up in the same household, and like he didn't want to live anymore. Like he didn't like life. He was kind of miserable. You know, I think the address of heaven and hell is in the same spot. It's between your ears, and it's you know, life is what you make of it. It's the perception that you have of things, and for him, for whatever reason, he was kind of wired that way, and that's the way he felt about life. But you're absolutely right. You have choices that you can make.
Yeah,
you can make a decision that you want to do good, that you want to try to be better. Yeah.
I think, I mean, honestly, you know, it's just say talking about your brother, just talking to anyone that does suffer from like depression or does suffer from those things. I don't even think with them it's so much of a choice. I think it's the fact that
it gets to be a little more complicated sometimes.
Yeah, they see life a different angle than we do. They have a different perception of life.
Right.
And I can say it because I've lived that.
Right. As
a law enforcement officer, seeing death every single day on a regular basis. Whether it was 2-year-old kid, whether, you know, and I've seen people take their life in front of me, you know.
I wouldn't be able to see that one time.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, I wouldn't be able to, that would not work for me.
Yeah. And it's one of those, it's tough, you know, and then I was telling you about it, you create that disassociation. So you leave work at work. And then when you go home, you try not to, you don't think about it. Some things will affect you, however you slice and dice it. Yeah. I don't care who you are. You go on a scene where a kid drowns, 2-year-old kid or, you know, and it's hell.
Yeah.
You know, nobody wants to see that. I don't care who you are and how long you've been on the job. Nobody wants to see a 2-year-old kid purple and dying while you see fire rescue guys trying to bring him back to life. They bring him back to life. He gets on the ambulance and then he dies again. And then he goes, they try to bring him back to life. They bring him back to life and then he dies again. I had a crew one time some years ago where they brought the kid, I think it was like 2 or 3 times, and the kid ended up, you know, passing away.
Yeah.
And the whole crew had to go home. The whole crew had to go home. The whole entire fire rescue crew.
Just done.
Everybody was crying. Everybody was, because they saved his life so many times and he ended up passing away. There's nothing you could do about that, but you feel like there was something you could do. And you don't realize, that was his day. It is what
Those are things that aren't really thought about, is the mental capacity and even just the recovery of people that are trying to help. And then police officers, it seems insane, the amount of things, and firefighters, the amount of things that you get called for.
Oh, absolutely.
It's you locked your keys in the car.
Yeah, stupid little calls like that. Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's like, because I don't know, who else do you...
Who else do you call?
Yeah, who else?
Well, they get calls all the time where the kids are left inside the car.
Right.
They're locked inside the car, and they have to come break the window to get the kid out and things like that. You go to
I guess it's just a lot of wear and tear.
Yes.
And then you're expected to always make the right decision all the time.
In seconds. In seconds. And then it's always said, a police officer has 3 or 4 seconds to make a life-altering decision, and then the lawyers and everybody else on the other side have hours and days and months to criticize what it took
to
you 3
look at
seconds.
it in super slow motion and dissect it
and
say you didn't follow, law number or whatever, rule number.
Exactly.
And you're like, hey man, I don't. And guy whipped out a gun. I don't know what's going on.
But at the end of the day, it comes back to training. And then I say it all the time. I said, law enforcement officers, they get caught up in just working and trying to make money, trying to work overtime, trying to work off duties. And then from there, they're spending time with their family. So they don't dedicate, because the department's not going to pay for your training. The budget's always, this and that. So you're going to get just basic, the least amount of training possible. It's up to you on whether you go on your own time and do the training. Like this year, I was able to get all my tactical sponsors to pay for a 3-day class for law enforcement officers down in South Florida, where I'm going to be giving 3 days of my time to them so they get the training.
That's cool.
They get the stuff, so I try my best. It's hard.
And these are guys that are volunteering for it, pretty much?
They all they got to do is bring ammo. So they go to 3 days. It's August 6th, 7th, and 8th. They go for 3 days. They take it off from their department, however they, because their department can pay for it. They'll give them the days off. They just don't want to pay anything. So they go on the 3 days, and they we do training all 3 days for 10 hours a day, 7 o'clock in the morning to 5 in the afternoon, free. They don't have to pay for nothing. And I also do, like my sponsors, I have them do giveaways where they get free stuff and they get all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean?
So your sponsors basically help fund it by paying you for your time.
Yeah, well, not for mine. No, actually, I don't get paid for that at all. Okay, I'm donating my time. They're paying for like the range, I understand, for the vehicles, all the equipment that I need. You know what I mean?
So you don't have out of pocket.
Exactly. So we don't have an out of pocket, and
that's fucking awesome.
It's hard. Listen, it's very hard because it's literally getting 6 or 7 different sponsors to put in a certain amount of money, tell them, hey, I need this much money, I need this much. And then every sponsor, every company, as little as they want to say, they're like, what return am I getting out of it?
Right.
You know what I mean? What am I getting out of this,
And you're like,
you're training, 25 police officers for 3 days, you know what I mean? So I've been fortunate enough to get on that level where I can, you know what I mean? I can push it hard enough to get it done. You know what I mean? And that's my way. I try my best somehow to give back, whether it is, I don't care about my time. It's 3 days. It's great. I'm with freaking cops all 3 days.
And you love it.
And I love it. Yeah, that's what I love to do, so it doesn't bother me, but it's not easy. It took me literally a year and a half to put that together, almost 2 years. You know what I'm saying? It's probably
somewhat complicated, even like law-wise and stuff. Like you probably can, is it like, you can work with any departments or
any department. They send the people over as long as you're a certified police officer. I don't care from where you are in the country. As long as because I'm certified from a FDLE, so I'm a certified instructor for Florida Department of Law Enforcement. So as long as they come in, whatever course that I give, it's good to go. It's anybody from anywhere in the country can come and take the class. It depends on they want to fly it down or not. Right. But I get a lot of South Florida, guys that always come down. Well, mid Florida too. So I have some guys.
How does fitness play into it?
With them, they're gonna have to fight. They're gonna have to run. They're gonna have to do tons of stuff. The class is a survival class. So it's. I'm a firm believer in trying to mimic reality at the end of the day. So a lot of guys just teach shooting or teach being proficient with a handgun, but don't mimic the body's natural response to an adrenaline situation. So if you don't do that, then you're taking 50% of the most important thing. You know what I mean? Your heart rate is not going to be at 80 beats per minute.
So someone just starts yelling and talking shit and doing whatever at a restaurant. your heart rate's going to go up. They whip out a gun. Now we're talking about a whole new thing.
Now we're talking about 190 beats per minute. You know what I'm saying? Now you got to take the gun out, and you have to make a life-changing decision that could take someone's life or take your own life. The guy takes the gun out. You know.
So is some of the objective to get them to exercise, do some crazy stuff, and then they got to be able to.
To my law enforcement courses, I try not to do like burpees and any of that stuff. Yeah. I try to do everything. Somehow it's going to be related to their job, whether it's a foot chase, whether it's fighting with a guy, whether it's, it's something or whatever, it's going to be relation. I try to do just like exercises like I would with civilians, you know what I mean?
Just for no reason.
Yeah, just for no reason. There's a reasoning behind.
Jumping over something.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. I have them, like I've been in multiple foot chases.
I did a lot of that as a kid.
What?
Jumping over stuff and then like rolling over something and then shooting stuff.
Doing the Hondo roll. Yeah. 100%. And come back up and
of course. Get around the corner. And,
I know. I did the video not too long ago where I hit the freaking can and I had to fall down. I almost busted my ass on video. I was like, oh my God. It's horrible.
It didn't look so great.
No, it didn't look that great. It looked like I was a freaking clumsy ox. So, but yeah, it's a lot of different things.
It's gotta be hard to have a steady hand after you've done a bunch of stuff, and
that's why it makes it so hard.
After you're moving around, your heart rate gets up.
Correct. Yeah. When you're when you're at about $175 beats per minute, everything changes. Tunnel vision takes into audio exclusion. Your ears, everything goes real small. Your hands start trembling. Everything. So you have to show what's important about that is showing a police officer, showing anybody that carries a gun for a living, that they're capable of being proficient still under those circumstances.
Right.
That creates confidence. Having that confidence will avoid the bad shootings. Why? Because they'll get closer to the person. They'll make sure or take that extra step before they pull that trigger. If they're confident in their abilities in hand-to-hand or in fighting or whatever they may be because they've already been through it in training, then they're going to be a lot less quicker to pull their gun out and shoot somebody just because they're in a fight with the guy.
Yeah, if I believe in myself that I can take care of business and I don't need to
absolutely
go overboard, I can. Exactly. I'm pretty sure I can handle it, right?
Exactly. So you're that confidence is the training is what gives you that confidence that avoids the bad shoots, that avoids all the issues that you're going to have comes across with not training and not having confidence. Because obviously you get a guy that's say 6'5", 6'6", you've never gotten in a fight before. The guy comes up, he starts bolting up on you. He's got no guns on nothing. The first thing that you're going to think of is like, oh my God, I can't handle this guy. This guy's going to kill me. Let me shoot him. But if you're a guy that takes jiu-jitsu, you're a guy that takes fighting or whatever it may be, the last thing on your brain is going to be, oh, I need a gun to handle this guy. Yeah, maybe I'll get my ass beat. All right, that's fine. But I'm going to hold my own for 1 minute and 30 seconds until my backup gets there.
Right.
You're never going to think in your mind to take out a lethal option with a guy with no gun, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
With no, not able to kill you lethally, whether it's a knife, whether it's a bat, whether it's a gun, whatever it is, So that's why it's so important, in the training aspect. And it's just with fitness is the same thing. Fitness is the same concept, physical. You get into a fight with a guy and you're out of shape, you're going to last 15, 20 seconds. The guy's going to get on top of you, ground and pound you. And then you're going to have no choice but to take out your gun. You get me?
And who knows what these guys are on too, right?
Oh, my God. You got guys that go on bath salts. We had a guy on bath salts some years ago.
You hit those guys, they don't care. Right?
Yeah, he ate a guy's face, down in Miami. Ate a guy's completely his face off. Cocaine psychosis. You have tons of stuff. Yeah, you have tons of stuff where, the body ingests these drugs and they become superhuman.
Right.
It takes 7 police officers to take them down. You know what I mean? And then they go crazy. And then they have what's called excited delirium, which is their core temperature raises really high. They go crazy, take off their clothes, go naked, all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, boom, it shuts down, they die.
Jesus.
And they die and
try fighting someone that's naked.
No, naked and covered in blood. 2 things that I've had to do in my career.
You're like,
everybody's like, everybody's got a taser out. Everybody's like, oh, I don't want to touch that guy. And then he's HIV positive. Listen, you laugh, but it's true. The guy will be in the middle. You have 7 police officers around the guy, and everybody's like, okay, what do we do? It's happening.
Like, get away from me with that thing.
Yeah, no, you're covered in blood, and then you don't know if the guy has AIDS. The guy is HIV positive, and then you get exposed. And then when you get exposed, and you got to take what's called a cocktail, it's like 7 or 8 pills, and you're gonna be stomachache for 7 days, vomiting. It's horrible. It's horrible. I had to do that before.
I never even heard of that.
Oh yeah,
just kills whatever
bacteria. Yeah, kills. You have 24 hours to drink the pills. I can't remember if it's one set of pills. or it's like one set of pills every a couple of days in a row.
Shit.
And then
this is miserable though.
It's terrible. It's like the worst thing ever. You're like literally in bed and your stomach is turning the whole for 24 hours, and you got to go to the bathroom and you throw up and it's horrible. It's horrible. But I mean, that's better than freaking catching whatever, whether it's hepatitis, whether it's AIDS, whatever.
That's crazy.
And that's what happens when they bite you, when somebody bites you and you get exposed like that, or let's say you take a guy down with blood and then you cut yourself or something. And let's say you're handcuffing the guy and you cut your hand and he's got blood and now you got blood and now you had a cross-contamination. Forget about it. You gotta
Did you sometimes feel as a police officer that like you weren't making a difference? Like, did you ever feel that way, or did you feel that?
I feel like that every day.
Because it's like there's just so much mayhem going on all the time, right?
Yeah. I mean, the stuff that I down in Florida, you see an armed robbery guy. I got an armed robbery guy in custody one time. I checked his background. He was out on probation for armed robbery. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So how do you get probation for armed robbery? It's a forcible felony. And then they were like, oh, by the way, yeah, you're convicted, but you can go on the street. You can go back on the street. You know what I mean? It's, hey, no problem. You get that guy, let's say whatever victim he had that he robbed. Let's say the victim doesn't speak English, or they weren't wearing their glasses, or they weren't whatever. Right. They go to court, the guy gets a decent lawyer. He's like, oh, but were you wearing? I had a case just like that. Were you wearing your glasses the day of the thing? So how did you ID my suspect? Boom, case dismissed right on the spot.
Oh my god,
just like that. Yeah.
Is part of that just because they don't have room for that many people?
I
don't
know. It's just the legal system. You have lawyers that are really good and they work the system really good, and then a lot of the people are either too scared to go, or they don't know the laws, or they don't know anything. They're going to be honest, and you can't expect anything else from a victim, to be honest, Yeah. But in a technicality like that, you got a guy who robbed 10 people, 3 don't show up, 2 don't hear. Next thing you know, the guy robbed 14 people and he only gets hit on 2 cases. I guess 2 years for 15 armed robberies, Yeah, and that's crazy. An everyday occurrence. That's Miami. That's all the time. And I'm sure around the country.
When you first started, were you kind of like, did you have maybe a misconception about what being a police officer was? Where you're like, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to catch the bad guy, he's going to go to jail, and then the next day I'm going to get the next bad guy, and if I rally up enough, like my town's going to be cleaner or something. You kind of like almost think that way a little bit, like you're fired up about it, excited.
As a rookie cop, you get on the road and you think you can make a difference. You know what I'm saying?
Which is good because you need the energy, right?
Yeah, but when you go into that sector, to that zone, that it's like you're about to go in service, and then you look at the computer and you got 15 calls holding. And then you go and you handle your first accident, and then they clear you from that accident. They go, hey, by the way, beep, here's another accident. And now you haven't even finished the report on that one. And then you're in the middle of that one, and beep, oh, you got a domestic now, like, an aggravated battery. So you're backed up on 3 calls now. And now at the end of the day, you have to finish all those reports. So you have to stay an extra 2 hours on your shift to finish the reports. Yeah, no.
And you're super tired, rolling in the next day.
And you're rolling the next day, and the same exact thing all over again. It's on patrol. That's how it is. Where it's just a constant battle.
I remember there's a story of like Magic Johnson. He hit like a game-winning shot, and he was a rookie, and he made a big. The team made a big deal, and he was like crying. He was all emotional. He's in the locker room, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar came over to him, like pat him on the shoulder. He's like, "That's one game, kid. Like, just relax. Like, there's gonna be like 100 of these. I know. In a given year, and we got to play tomorrow night.
Yeah, so by the way, we have another game tomorrow. Yeah, just wipe it off.
Yeah. Get your.
Nobody cares what you did yesterday.
Right.
It's about what you're doing today, and that's life. Life is like that.
The last time you were on the podcast, you made a prediction, which was something that you didn't want to do, but you told us flat out. You said there's going to be more of these shootings.
Yes.
You're like, I fucking hate saying this, but there's going to be more.
Yeah.
The problem is not going to go away unless there's.
And I think since we've talked, there's been about 3 or 4.
Yeah, there's been a bunch.
Yeah.
It slowed down a little bit for a little bit there, and then.
Now recently we had the shooting in the school down in South Florida.
It's like 14 people.
17 dead.
Jeez.
And like I think it was another 10 or 15 that were hurt.
Oh my God. You can't, that's so devastating.
No, it is.
To an area.
Kids, you know what I mean? And you see the videos and everybody, you see the kids on the ground and it's really bad. I mean, and we'll go into this. I'll give my opinion on the fact that, because the biggest thing is like, how do we stop that?
Yeah.
You're never going to be able to
train the kids, man.
No, those kids. Yeah. You're never going to be able to stop someone willing to take their own life for someone else's. You can't stop that. So if somebody's willing to sacrifice their life for someone else's, impossible to stop.
You can't stop crazy.
Yeah,
that's what they say.
Yeah,
if someone's crazy,
if someone's crazy, he's going to figure out a way.
It's going to hurt somebody.
Yeah. People think that banning guns or taking away the guns from everybody and all this stuff is going to solve that. It's not. And we talked about this the other day. So you ban all the guns, and now just wait till 3:30 in the afternoon, 4 o'clock, when all the kids are walking out, getting into a bus, ride a bus through 30, 40 kids, and now you have 40 more deaths.
It's happened before.
Yeah, it's happened before. Bombs, you're never going to be able to take away bombs. You can make bombs from anything. You know what I mean? You can go to the grocery store and get all the chemicals you need for a bomb. So guns, taking away guns is not going to do it. What you need is a security. Put a cop in every single school. Make the budget for that cop, for that police officer to be there when the school opens to the school ends. It's already been statistically proven that the people that do all these, the mass killings, the mass shootings, they don't want any confrontation. They don't want any conflict. Most of the time, 2 things happen. 1, they take their own life, or 2, they take off running. Very rarely will you ever see someone as an active shooter where they'll take hostages and then it goes back and forth, you know? So you either put a police officer in every school or at least armed security guards. Now, when I say armed security guards, I don't mean just like a regular G license, security guard that you're paying, $7 or $8 an hour, I'm talking about someone who's certified in reaction to active shooters, someone who has a training, someone who has, you know what I mean, that you're going to have to probably end up paying a little bit more money, but you're going to feel more secure. You have 2 of those guys, put a radio in every single one of those teachers' hands, and everybody's, eyes open all the time, and head on a swivel, whatever it may be. And just, once that radio goes off,
they're talking about the reaction time is not the reaction time really, but just the time that it takes for somebody to get there.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't realize that. And we were talking about that, the 911 call. You call 911 from your cell phone, it goes directly to the county. From that county, then it goes to your city. So it's a delay. There's probably about a 2.5 minute delay. That's just to get the police.
Time is precious.
Yeah, every single second is precious, So you have a police officer there, he's got a radio in his hand. As soon as he calls for that shots fired or whatever it may be, you're going to have cops there within 20 to 30 seconds. They're all going to be running, emergency code to that school. And the training has already been established that there is no, set of perimeter and hold anymore.
If I'm a teacher and I call and I'm hysterical, you can't understand what I'm saying.
Oh my goodness.
You don't know what kind of call it is.
Absolutely.
You don't know what I might even just be fucking around. I'm sure they get calls all day. There's someone messing around.
Not only that, but it's just, you're going to get, on 911, I guarantee you, if you go back and you do all the background on all those calls that I'm sure that they got tons of them, every call is going to be a little different. No, because the guy was wearing a black shirt. No, because the guy was wearing a green shirt. No, because the kid is 5'6". No, because he's 5'7". You have a police officer who's trained in that, and he's trained in giving proper bolos or bolos to be on the lookout. He's going to give a proper description of that guy. He's going to give exactly the type of firearm that he has, which way he's going,
the code, everything.
And everything. And so you're going to have, and it's live. We're talking about live from that radio to every police officer that's coming.
Boom, it's right there.
It's right there. It's a huge difference. And now we're talking about anybody that's going to do that, to go into a school. Let's just say there is a police officer in every single school. Every single person that's going to do that has to already understand, I got to go through that cop first. And I got to beat that radio.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to go through you. That's for sure. I'd see you out there. I'd be like,
but you're going to think twice about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to think twice about it because now it's not anymore just kids anymore. Now I have an armed person who's trained, who's a police officer and has a radio in his hand.
You have to get into a fight.
And you have to get into a fight. You have to get into a gunfight.
Yeah.
Because you're bringing a gun, So it's gonna be nasty. You know what I mean? So that's what I would say would probably be the best solution would be a budget for a police officer in every single school.
Some people mentioned teachers. Some people mentioned arming the teachers, or they were thinking of some things like that. Is there, do you think that's any sort of?
I would tell you like this: if the thing about the teachers is that the teachers don't have the proper training to be able to assess situations like that. Yeah, you might have a teacher that he's a CCW holder and then he's been shooting his whole life. Yeah, 1 out of hundreds. Where let's say they have a gun, and then not only that, but you have to be confident in your abilities to take out a gun and take somebody's, take someone's life. It's not that easy as people think it is, especially if you've never done it before. Yeah. I don't think that's the answer. Could the teachers get more training? Absolutely.
And what I'm saying? And it could potentially help.
Yeah. And that's going to always help. There should be some form of standard operating procedures and an active shooter. Let's say you have a cop in every school. What happens? Where they go? Escape routes, all these different things.
I guess it's a good thing for people to talk about, right? Like you prepare for fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, they used to prepare for other stuff too.
Remember growing up, how many of those drills did we have under the desk, all the stuff. Now they have to do for active shooters.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because it's just happening. It's just happening too much.
It could save a lot of people. Maybe even just having a procedure, maybe that would just help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
not going to solve anything. But maybe just
procedures. Help. What helps with the procedures or with the training is that now it becomes a protocol, so it becomes muscle memory. So if you do it enough times, you're just naturally, even though you're scared, even though you're just naturally going through the movement that you always go through on a regular basis. You know what I mean? And you're not going to have to think about it. So if the kids do it all the time and the teachers do it all the time, when the thing happens, whatever is happening, people are going to just do it because they've been doing it so much. When you don't have anything in place, it's just chaos. Everybody's running everywhere. Teachers are, you know what I mean? So it becomes a different animal. Now it's just, there's no organization. It gets to be
tough too because, if I in my town, I live in Davis, and if I was like, hey, everybody, I'm bringing my former military SWAT buddy, Tony Sentmanat, to come, and he's going to protect the school. Mm-hmm. They'd be like, who's this crazy motherfucker hanging around my kids?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a possibility, yeah.
Because you're big and you have the Marine Corps background, and then they'll be like, well, does he have PTSD? Or like, you know what I mean? People are going to get all crazy about who's hanging around their kids.
But you know what it is? That's the way that you solve that problem is you have the police officer meet all the kids,
right?
Talk to all the kids, become a part of that community. When you have PTA, the police officer will be there with the parents. Talk to the parents on a one-on-one basis. Create that bond between the police officer and the parents and have that with their kids. And that, in the beginning, it may be a little bit like scary, but once they get to meet the person and they understand who he is and what he's there for, everything, you're going to feel more secure. Because now oh man, at least there's a police officer in my school every single day. You know what I mean? And that guy's there for one purpose, to protect my kids.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And he's going to be willing to give his life for that, which is the most important thing.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Do you think training alone can really help, or do you think people need to have experience? Is that why you're suggesting for it to be kind of police officers?
The reason I say police officers is because they get training on active shooter and all these different things. And obviously, the radio factor is huge.
Yeah.
Having a radio to law enforcement, to that surrounding jurisdiction of police officers, that is really what's going to make the true difference. Because there's a huge difference in police officers getting there within 30 seconds and getting there within 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the biggest things for me. Like we always had a joke. It was like, you might be able to beat the police officer, but you can never beat the radio. I would get into foot chases all the time as a cop. And if you were good in setting a perimeter,
or that dog, they get that dog out, and you're not outrunning. You're not outrunning that.
Get the dog out of gas. But you get a cop who's experienced in setting perimeters in the foot chase, and you get a guy with a warrant or whatever, and he takes off running on you. As soon as you take off running, you give the description of the guy, and then you give points. You give for a box. You set a box. So all the cops that are coming, they're coming directly to that box. You enclose the guy in a box. Once you lose sight of him, now the canine comes. They'll get 2 or 3 canine dogs, and they search for the guy. There's no way out of there. If you know what you're doing, you can't beat that radio. You'll never beat it. Just like guys who flee on motorcycles or on the highways that are fleeing the cars. Once that halo gets on top of you, the helicopter, or once they got the radio away, there's going to be people waiting for you with stop signs. There's going to be people waiting for you over there. You can't beat the radio, man. You can't. It's only a matter of time.
If somebody was to do something crazy in a public setting, in a mall or something like that, do you have something in your head sort of planned out, or would it just be reactionary based on training and based on, if there's one guy, 2 guys, and so on?
Every situation dictates, and where you go dictates. The key there is to be situationally aware. When I'm home or when I'm in Miami, I always have a firearm on me. That's number one.
You sent me a picture or a video from the airport, I think, and you're like, I'm on the lookout, and you're just looking back and forth, and it was boomerang, and I was like, that shit's scary. But do you live your life a little bit that way?
I live my life like that, man. Unfortunately, it's some people think it's paranoia, and it's just like, it's not that. It's just
street smarts.
It's the job. You do the job for so many years, it just becomes part of you. You go into a restaurant, you always want to be watching the door. You always want to know where the exits are. It's just simple stuff like that can really make a difference.
Who knows?
And if you really make it part of your life, like if you understand that it's simple little things like that are going to make the difference, and you aren't always on your phone or eating, you know what I'm saying? Just, living in La La Land, you're gonna, when something does happen, it may never happen your whole entire life.
Yeah.
But that one day that it does, you're gonna think that what you did saved your life or your family's lives, That's why, for me, it's just normal. Like, it's an everyday thing for me because I've just been that way so many years. But for someone who's starting to do it now, those little things of when you're walking out to your car at nighttime and you're by yourself, let's say you're a female or whatever, don't be down looking at the phone. You know what I'm saying? Because next thing you know, you're trying to open your door and you got a gun to the back of your head. You never even saw that guy coming around where he came.
Right.
And you just got robbed. You know what I mean? Maybe if you would have been paying attention and you saw that the two guys sitting in the car in front of you and you looked at them and they looked at you and then you were paying attention to what you were doing and paying attention to what they were doing, they wouldn't have came up on you like that,
They don't want any struggle. They don't want anything to be slow. They want to be fast,
Exactly. They want everything easy. They always pick... and I call them predators, because they're human predators is what they do. They prey on the weak. They prey on the older people. They prey on the females that they know that they're not going to... Very rarely do you ever see a guy rob a 240-pound, 6'4" guy. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That doesn't happen. And maybe, listen, that guy he's never been in a fight in his whole entire life.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know how to fight.
Well, a lot of times when you watch some of the stuff from the surveillance cameras and stuff, whenever somebody does have any resistance, sometimes they knock the bad dude out in a second flat because the guy wasn't even thinking that anybody was
I saw a video not too long the other day. A guy is robbing a liquor store, and a Marine guy gets behind him, and he pulls a gun on that Marine guy, puts him in a lock, boom, throws him up in the air, wow, hits him on the ground, takes his gun away. You know what I'm saying? They get focused. No training. They get focused on what they're doing.
Just a punk.
Yeah, and that's what it is. But it's a guy with a gun.
Right.
And that's what makes it, because most of those people don't even know how to deal with guns. So they're pointing the gun at you with their finger on the trigger. And all it takes for them is to get scared or something. Boom, gun goes off. You just got shot. And now you're in a fight for your life. Hopefully he didn't shoot you in a major organ or something like that. And it's a done deal. And most of those people that are crack monsters and they have addictions, they don't want to kill you.
Right.
They don't. But that addiction needs to be fed. So if they have to, they will, but they don't want to, because they know they're going to go to jail for murder one instead of just a strong arm robbery or an armed robbery, which they can probably do a couple years in prison for.
So what you told me yesterday was crazy when you were talking about people just stealing. And how they basically they had this kind of I guess almost like organized crime ring, where they would just watch people's movements in different areas.
Oh, 100%,
and they had a GPS set up. And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, these crews.
It was wild.
It's that's how they make their money.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that that's their job. Our job is to do what we do, and their job is to steal from whatever they can from you. Like that crew we talked about it. They dedicated themselves to stealing purses from women, and during either when they took kids to the babysitters, not babysitter. I'm sorry, to the daycare, to the daycare, or during the gas stations during the daytime, and then back to daycare.
Pick up.
Drop off. You get out of the car in the gas station, leave your purse in, they open the door, boom, they grab it. You drop off your kid, they open the door, and they grab your purse while you're dropping off your kid. You know what I mean? So it was 3 or 4 cars every single day, 16 purses a week.
The gas station thing is funny to me because, well, not funny, but it's just like while I'm pumping my gas, I'm not going to lock my car.
Oh, of course not.
So it's perfect opportunity.
Oh, 100%.
I never even, until you brought it up yesterday, I was like, I'm just going to sit there and pump my gas, but I ain't paying attention.
Yeah.
I'm always on my phone or dicking around or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, as a guy, we have our wallet's always here.
Yeah.
But the females, where they have their purse is always next to the thing.
A lot of times, yeah.
Yeah. So the guys, you'll see them, and you'll see them on the surveillance cameras, they'll circle. They see the girl come in, boom. They go, okay. So they'll circle once, twice. As soon as she gets out of the car, they come around. The guy gets really low, opens the door, grabs the purse, closes the door, and gets back in his car. She won't even notice that the purse is gone until maybe 5 minutes after she's, you know what I'm saying? She gets back in the car and she looks at the purse like, what happened?
Yeah.
It's just gone. You never saw it. And then when you see the surveillance camera, you see the guy come in and took the purse, Right. Same thing with the kids in the morning, the daycares, You get back into your car, you don't even realize that you're in your own world.
When your guard is, when you're a parent, a lot of times your focus is just on your kid.
Oh, 100%.
So you get your kid and then you bring him into the daycare or whatever, and that's all you're thinking. You're not thinking about you're not thinking about anything about the car. You might even leave the fucking car on. Who knows?
Yeah, for sure.
Just because you ain't thinking about shit. You're just like, I need to take my kid over here, and you take him there, and next thing you know, your shit's gone.
You know what happened? I had a case. Lady gets out of the car, leaves the kid in the back seat, little baby, gets out of the car to an ATM. 20 seconds later, the guy's walking, sees the car still on, see the car door open. He doesn't see the kid. Jumps in the car, takes the car.
Holy
Took the car with the kid in it.
He probably ditched that car quick.
Oh, yeah, he sure did. He ended up leaving it. He ended up leaving it at the Metro Rail, and then he ended up calling. He said, "Hey, the car is at such and such place or whatever," and he hung up and he left it there with the kid.
Yeah, but kidnapping is
straight up, right? That's what it is. I went from Grand Theft Auto to kidnapping real quick. So but it's not even that. It's what if the guy? What if that guy was good? Like he's a good
right.
What if the guy's he doesn't care? You know what I'm saying? It just from that simple little leave the car for 10 seconds and it's a crime because that was literally a crime of opportunity. The guy in his head said, well, I need to get to such and such place. Let me just see if I can jump in a car. And then he just waits and the person, boom, jumps in the car and he takes off. And that's it. Doesn't see the kid. Obviously, there's tints, in the car. And but another guy that doesn't care gets the kid, leaves him stranded, and the kid ends up dying. Shit. Jumps the car somewhere in the middle of nowhere, doesn't call nobody, says nothing. The kid doesn't eat for whatever. Everybody's looking for the car. Nobody finds it. And that's it. The kid, and there's that. There's it. Your kid's done.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Little things like that,
What are some other things people can do? You kind of mentioned just paying attention, but like just street smarts. What are some things that you kind of like just notice? You're like, man, that's a big mistake.
The biggest thing that I see nowadays, and I think we're all guilty of it at some point or another, is the phone. Everybody's always on the phone with their head dug into the phone all the time.
We're watching your fucking videos, man. Yeah, we're watching you jump over hurdles and shit and throw tires over your head.
It's one of those things where if you're going somewhere and you're by yourself, especially you don't have a firearm on you or whatever, and it's nighttime, be smart. You know what I'm saying? You're leaving the mall or you're leaving whatever, and you're literally like the best opportunity for some crime guy. You know what I'm saying? Is be smart, look around, look at the cars around you. If people are more aware, believe it or not, the presence of you being aware will deter probably 80% of the crimes that happen to people. It's the people, and listen, these guys follow you. We have case after case after case where they'll see the guy, they go to the ATM, they take out the money.
The odds are we've all been followed by someone
at one point or another. At one point or another,
they looked us up and down at least.
Yes,
right.
And
then said,
that's
nope,
another thing. When you're driving, if you have somebody you think is following you. Man, that car, I've seen that car already a couple times in my rearview mirror. Make 2 right turns. 2 right turns. If you make 2 right turns and that car makes 2 right turns, he's following you. Nobody's gonna make 2 right turns. Because you make a right turn, you're going back the same way that you just came. Who's gonna do that? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's simple little things like that. But people all the time, they're always listening to, they're not paying attention to what's going on around them. And those people, you go to an ATM, you go to somewhere where you took out cash. You went to the bank. Bank is one of the biggest ones. Anybody that walks out of the bank, they'll have a guy inside the bank, and then he's filling out stuff and he's watching people. If he sees some guy come with a big stack of cash, boom, puts it in an envelope, and he walks out, he gets on the phone. He's gonna walk out right after you, maybe 5 minutes after you. He's already telling his guy, hey, such and such person coming out, whatever, big money. Bam. He gets in his car, the other guy gets in the other car. And they're gonna follow you home. As soon as you pull into your house, boom, they're gonna come out, both of them have guns, they rob you and they take your money right there.
Shit.
You know what I'm saying? Or if not, what they do before, during Christmas time in Miami, people always, what they do, you go to 3 different stores, right? So you go to Best Buy first, then you go to Marshall's, then you go to here, and you go to there. All the stuff you bought at Best Buy, your $700 worth of Christmas gifts, when you get to Marshall's, by the time you come back to your car in Marshall's, it's all gone.
Shit.
They have a guy inside the Best Buy, they have a guy in a car. The guy comes out, he says, hey, this guy's got, whatever. He's got PS3, this and that, da-da-da-da. They wait till you go to wherever you're going. Marshall's there, they go, they break into your car, they take all your stuff. Boom. They follow you. And they do it year round. Year round. That's all they do.
That's
and
insane.
They make an extra 10, 15 grand for the weekend or for the whatever. And these crews, they dedicate themselves to just doing that. And then we ended up having to get into undercover cars, sitting hours on end at the Best Buys, waiting for them. Oh, there it is. There's the guy. That's the description of the car. That's this. Then we got to wait for them to hit. Then when they hit, then you take them down, But sometimes it takes weeks.
Do you still run into people that you arrested?
Yeesh. I haven't ran into one. And Be honest with you.
Some of that's kind of weird.
Yeah,
right?
you know, be honest with you, I could have a guy that I arrested right in front of me right now, and I wouldn't even know his face.
You worked for so long.
It's so many people.
15 years or something.
Yeah, you know, so it gets to a point where everybody's face looks the same. It's got to be like a really case, and even the big cases that I had.
Why is that guy looking at me like that?
Yeah, and then, you know, now it's different for me now because now people are looking at me. Is it because they know me from social media? Yeah. Is it, you know, is it bad or is it good? You know, and then they come up to you and you have to be nice. I'm not going to be like, hey, you don't get away from me. What if it's a guy I arrested, you know? So you're like, it's a double-edged sword, you know? But I haven't had anybody, honestly, I've never had, I can always say, listen, I can knock on wood, anybody that I've arrested or anybody that I got whatever I had to do for deserved it. You know what I mean? I'm clean in my heart and my brain that, you know, I never unjustly.
That's all you can ask for.
Yeah. I never unjustly. I tried my best, never to unjustly. You know,
you've done a lot of MMA training too.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you ever fight
in
MMA?
No, never did. I used to train back in the early 2000s.
Any matches or anything like that?
No, man.
Sparring.
I was gonna go pro in the early 2000s. I used to train at Nogueira's camp down in Miami when he had a camp before he went back to Brazil.
Nogueira.
Yeah, and I was gonna go pro there, but. This is the thing. I'm working 80 hours a week as a cop. I would go from work to the MMA, spend 2 or 3 hours there, get beat up, and then go to work to get beat up again. You know, and after doing it for about 4 or 5 months, you know, I had to make a choice. I had to say, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go pro. You know, I'm either going to have to take some time off of work to dedicate, you know, a full, you know, put my 100% into this, or I'm just going to have to just make it a hobby, you know? At that time, I had a lot of bills. I had to pay my bills.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Work.
I had to go to work.
Got to be an adult.
Yeah, you know.
Can't play MMA.
And that's the problem. And then, you know, how many pro MMA fighters you know have 15 fights, 20 fights, and they're living in an efficiency, and it's for them to a car. I can't live like that. I can't. They don't make no money. You know, people have that misconception. Oh, because you could be going to UFC, you're going to be making big money. No, it doesn't work that way.
No, there's like just a couple guys at the top.
Exactly. That are making real money. Everybody else is scrounging for a fight to make 30, 40 grand for the year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And those guys train 7 days a week. You know what I'm saying? And they're barely making it. They're doing they have a contract for 1 or 2 fights that year. They win, they make 30, 40 grand or whatever. If they get the fight of the bonus, they make another 10 grand. But still, what is that? 70 grand? 80 grand? You know, and they're UFC guys.
There's a lot of people watching you. You know, there's a lot of people watching your Instagrams, a lot of people following along with what you're doing. Now there's people being like really inspired and moved by what you're doing. I think that's really cool. I think you're in a really cool spot. And how does that feel for you? Like, is it kind of surprising? You're kind of just like, oh, I'm just jumping over stuff and people are excited about it.
I honestly, I don't really think about that, Mark. I've always just put my content out there and let it speak for itself.
And just working.
And just work. And keep your head down, grind. I love now, you know, when I retired in 2016, that I said, oh, I'm going to do this full time or whatever. It was probably one of the best choices I've ever made in my life. One of the scariest, by the way, because when I've been working since I was 14. First job was at Winn-Dixie. It was like a Publix or like a grocery store as a bagger.
Yeah, I have a steady paycheck coming in. It's a certain amount.
For my whole life.
Yeah.
You know, whether you're sick, whether you're this, you got a paycheck. So when I went on my own, it was scary because I was leaving tons of benefits, my retirement, leaving a lot of stuff, you know, leaving early. And at first I was like, you know, you get the first week and you're not going to work. And you've been used to, you know, it was either work or it was like, you know, something was off. So, you know, you feel weird. So now you have to get on the grind, hustle. You know?
You're like, what the hell do I do with myself?
What do you do with yourself? And it gets to that point. And now it's like, if you don't do nothing, you don't make no money.
Right.
So you have to hustle for that money. You have to grind. You have to do whatever it is that it takes. So it was tough in the beginning, just adapting to that. But I think it's like everything else in the world. It's like once you find the system or find the program for you that works good, you know, you run with it. And so far, so good, you know. I can't complain. You know?
I think people admire, you know, it's not only you doing like explosive movements, but you're also moving some weight. Yeah. You know, I think I've seen you squat 500 for like 10 reps.
Yeah. On video, I've got 500 for 7. But I've done off video. I mean,
that's not like, you know, somebody squatting 225 in between, you know, jumping over a bench or whatever. Yeah. That's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And so I think when people are watching you, that's what they're admiring. And then you're not only, and I haven't really seen people do this before, but you're flipping tires, and then I've seen people jump in and out of them, but then you're picking them up,
It's flipping over my head.
And you're throwing them over your head. So
that was, you know, it was funny because I started that. I think it was, I don't even remember what was the first video.
I think you invented it.
Yeah, I want to take that, you know, that.
I'll give it to you.
Yeah, you know.
We'll say here on the podcast.
One day, I was flipping the tires regularly, and then
just got so mad.
You know what? I was like, you know what? Let me I'll see how it affects my body. Is what I wanted to see in regards to flipping it over my head. You know, because you do the medicine ball over the shoulder, so it's a similar exercise. And
I'm excited for you to teach it to Smokey.
Yeah, it's gonna be good, Smokey, to try that. You can do it, Smokey.
He might get, if he jumps in the tire, he might get stuck.
I'll tell you, the first time that I did it, it ended up coming back at me, hit me square on my head. Oh yeah, I got it on video. It's great. Comes right back down. Boom, hits me in the back of the head. I was like, yeah, might not try that again. That was the first time I did. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna try that again.
How are you recovering from these workouts? I mean, it looks like you're going at it hard, you know. Yeah. And plus, you're trying to power lift now. The recovery
effect, it's tough, man. It's very hard, especially when you do a strength conditioning day where it's explosive and you're just putting a lot of how can I say, a lot of brunt is on your lower back, and then you got to do a powerlifting day after. It's really tough. I just listen to my body, and if I feel like I'm really sore, then I go into a hypertrophy. I'm sorry. I go into a bodybuilding day. I call it isolation work. So it's like a shoulder day or a bicep tricep day or whatever. So then I do that for the day or two, and then I go back to either strength or explosive work. You know what I mean? Whatever it is. At our age, at my age, I'm almost 40, so I'm 38. It's not the same when you were in your 20s. In your 20s, you recover like this. The day after, you're I'm ready. Now you gotta listen, man, because I know you've seen the recent video. I tore my bicep. I've torn my hammy. I'm doing all these things that I do, thinking that in your brain you're still 25 years old. You know what I'm saying? You don't warm up properly. You don't do the proper therapy that you should do. You don't do the stuff that you need to do to recover the right way.
The athlete mindset, it makes us and breaks us. You know,
absolutely.
I've had a coach in the past tell me, James Smith, he said, going by how you feel is going to at some point be ineffective because you're going to lie to yourself. Yeah. You're going to always tell yourself that you feel good. You're going to get in the middle of a workout, and sure enough, you're going to be loading those fucking weights on just like you've done in the past. And we might think, I'll just go to 4 plates instead of 5 plates. And that's not really...
Yeah, that's not really a deal.
It's not really what your body truly
400
needs.
400 pounds or 5. Well, you know.
If you were like, you know what, I'm going to skip the gym today and I'm going to go to yoga, maybe that would be like enough of a rapid change to where, right?
Yeah, something, or cycling.
But we ain't going to do that.
You know, cycling.
Hit a spinning class.
A spinning class.
We'd probably get our asses kicked in a spinning class.
It's fucking hard. I've never tried it. I'm not that crazy. I'm crazy when it comes to my stuff, but there's certain realms I don't dive into, you know.
Was there anything that you tried that you were just like, that was a fucking bad idea, I ain't doing that again? I see you doing a sledgehammer and I see you doing all these different things.
Yeah.
For the most part,
you know what it is for me? I have to be moving. I'm an intense individual by nature, so I like things to be intense for me to enjoy it. Anything that has to do with like meditating, sitting down, relaxing, like yoga, I won't even try that.
Is that
I know
tough
I get
for
bored
you
within 5 minutes.
In general, like in life, is that hard for you to be patient sometimes?
Patient, no, but still, yes.
Yeah.
It's hard for me, even as a law enforcement officer. I remember when something happens or whatever, and they put me in the box, or they put you in like the control room or something. I wanted to freaking blow my brains out. You know what I'm saying? Stuck in that control room in 4 walls. I was like, I didn't even know what to do. I was like, I can't be here. I have to get out. You know, I have to go get into a car, do something with myself. I couldn't. And I've been like that most of my life. Like I've had to move some things, you know. So it's hard when
being
I see...
on a plane or something, probably,
bro,
you just want to get up and
move around. And it kills your lower back. It destroys my lower back. Every single time I come from the East Coast to West Coast, my lower back's fried for 2 or 3 days, you know. But you just got to put in work. Doesn't really matter, you know. You got to do what you got to do, you know.
So you're going to start doing a powerlifting, or you already have started doing powerlifting, and you want to do a powerlifting meet, right?
Not yet.
Not yet.
See. Maybe someday.
Well, my good friend Jesse Burdick runs an excellent powerlifting meet in November, and that would give you plenty of time to prep for it. My boy Filipino Thunder over here was working with you on some of your deadlifts the other day, and we think you should do it.
I would be nice. Maybe I'm thinking about it. It might be something that might come across. I think
you'd have to, cut back and tweak some of the other stuff you're doing. And no one ever wants to hear that. No one ever believes that.
No, absolutely.
But then when you get in the middle of it.
Listen, if you're going to do something, if you're going to do a meet or you're going to compete, you have to dedicate, to whatever you're doing, and you have to understand that.
100%
you have to. And at the end of the day, I mean, powerlifting for me, and I consider myself like a part-time powerlifter. It's like I'm not a full-time powerlifter since I do all the other stuff. If I can just go out there and just represent and, put some decent numbers on the board, I'll be happy with that. That's what I want. I don't expect to ever be as strong as some of these powerlifters that have been doing it for 10 years. I never expect that. But if I represent and I put up decent numbers, hey, I prove my point. Hey, listen, I've done the powerlifting stuff, I've done what you do, and I still maintain all the other stuff that I do, So that's what I would like to do, when it comes. Cool.
So you've been successful in the Marines, you've been successful as a police officer, and you're successful in the fitness industry. You may not view it that way because you're the kind of guy who's just going to keep his head down and just keep working. If you had to just sum it all up, how has some of it happened? How have you been able to get to the place you're in now?
Don't stop. Just keep working.
Keep fucking moving.
Yeah, when things are going to get hard, and there's going to be times where you're going to hit a wall and you're going to be like, wow, it's like, what do I do now? Or, that didn't work out for me, or whatever it may be. You got to just get back on the horse. If you get knocked down, you get back on the horse and you keep moving, And my goal as a business, as a brand, as however you want to slice it or dice it, or anybody in just general, if you're getting a little bit better, and I always say this all the time, if you're getting a little bit better every year, your company grew a little bit. I don't care if it's 10%, but it grew. Right. And it got a little bit better just because you worked a little bit harder. That's the goal. If you're getting a little bit better every year, you're doing something different every year. You're pushing forward. You're pushing forward. You never want to go backwards. Obviously, you want to get either bigger or push forward. And there's no reason why, with hard work and people that you have around you that support you and help you, there's no reason why you can't.
That's always important. Cutting out all the shitty people.
Oh, that's tough. Because you're always going to have people that are friends in front of you, and then when you turn around, they're not your friends.
Oh, I do that all the time to you.
Yeah, I know.
Stab right in the back. Actually, I'd be concerned trying to stab you in the back. I'd probably do some move and I'd end up on my back with a fucking broken arm.
Everybody always, it's so funny because everybody always says, they paint this picture of, I'm so aggressive. You're so aggressive. I'm not aggressive, bro. I'm not. The last thing
I haven't seen you be aggressive.
No.
Ed Cohn is someone who's aggressive. He beats the shit out of every single one of us in here. Has he ever tried any of that? He probably never tried that shit on you.
No, he hasn't tried it on me yet.
He's smart.
Yeah. But I've seen him do some of the stuff that he does, that he trains.
He loves doing that. He's excited about it.
Yeah.
So he wants to show people, hey, I learned
this. Let me break your arm in the process.
Yeah, he fucks you up every time. You're like, dude, that really hurt. What are you doing?
I don't have to be your dummy today. You know what I'm saying? Just let me be.
And then I think he just has no clue on how strong he is. I don't think it's like, dude, your
even
hands,
at his age, I'm sure his grip and his it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
most people like that, or that. Let's say, for example, a guy who's done, let's say, martial arts for a very small little time, but he's been an athlete his whole entire life. They don't know how to transfer and how much to transfer of their strength from the other stuff, the other realms into what they're doing. So they're kind of like, sometimes they'll grab you or they'll do something, and then they don't realize, hey, I can break this guy's arm.
Yeah, they're green. They're excited, and they're just gonna.
Exactly.
That's what they always say with jiu-jitsu. The white belts are the ones that always hurt people, right?
Yeah, because they're going 100 miles an hour.
Yeah,
and then they realize, that it's not about that. It's about the flow. It's about understanding your opponent and going with it.
Right.
And then you let them bait them, and bop, and you get them. Yeah. The guys that are always in the beginning always very tense, and then they last about 35 seconds.
That would be me.
They last about 30 seconds, and same thing with boxing though, and the same thing with Muay Thai and striking.
I'm finally getting to a point where I can fucking breathe when I'm boxing.
When you're doing
it's taken a while, but
but you're big, bro. Yeah. Listen,
I am pretty big.
Even the heavyweight guys, it's about weight though. It is. It's about weight.
No, it's made a big difference bringing my weight down. Yeah. When I was 250, it was impossible.
It's hard. It's hard. It's hard. And the thing about boxing or any kind of Muay Thai is you have no rhythm. There's no rhythm there. When you're doing pad work, there's no rhythm. It's 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2, and then you're moving at the same time. So you're constantly having to. It's kind of like a high intensity interval type breathing. It is, yeah. And when you're such a big guy, your shoulders are going,
trying to do the technique right, but at the same time, it's like, who wants to throw a soft punch?
No, nobody. Absolutely.
No, it's like you always want it to be explosive, and you want to get that pop. If you're hitting pads, it's like and
you're trying to be fast.
You can't get that out of your head mentally. Like you want to get that, that good strike in there.
In the beginning, for everyone, the hardest thing for everybody is obviously technique.
Yeah.
That's the hardest. And then Nobody wants to sit there and throw a 1-2 75,000 times and soft.
You're right.
You know what I mean? You want to, keep going. Oh, I want to do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I want to slip. I want to throw a jab. I want to throw a cross, uppercut. I want to throw all these different things. But at the same time that's how you create the bad habits. And that's how you mess up your technique. When you're starting to throw stuff and you don't have, let's say, the proper technique of how to throw it, and that's how you end up hurting yourself. So, and then forget the fact that we're big dudes, and then the cardio is going to kill you and the shoulders are going to kill you.
Yeah, it's also hard to figure out, like, there's got to be some tightness to it. There's going to be some snap to it. There's got to be certain times, but it's so different from powerlifting.
Oh,
powerlifting, you get the weight and you just kind of stay tight as possible the entire time.
It's 1-2.
And you can't like stay tight when you're trying to throw punches or move.
You have to be fluid. You have to be graceful. While you're breathing.
Graceful is not anything I'm about to anytime soon.
And then you wonder, look at these guys and it's like, man, how the freak does that guy do that?
You stop talking shit right away. When you're watching TV and you're like, this guy's, because
you tried it.
The second you started trying it, you're like, I ain't saying shit about no one.
Yeah, you realize
that guy's doing a really good job.
You realize, hey, that guy's pretty good. He got his ass beat, but he was pretty good.
Yeah.
Everything, every sport, basketball, football, baseball, MMA, everything has its technique. Everything has its, and it takes. People think, unless you're genetically, some people are gifted, but it takes time.
Right.
You have to go in just boxing. Let's just say boxing because I want to say boxing because. Not that it's the easiest, but it's the less amount of technique that you have to learn.
There's not as many different things
exactly.
going on,
It's not like Muay Thai, we have to know knees, elbows, kicking. But so in boxing, even in boxing, to throw a proper jab the right way, have proper stance, throw a proper cross, it takes weeks and weeks of repetition after repetition after repetition. And most people do not have the dedication to get in that same position every single day and throw a jab and a cross.
Right.
They just don't have it until they get it right. You know what I'm saying? And then they just keep doing it. And then when you get those right, then you're going to have another 3 or 4 weeks, maybe 2 or 3 months on the hook and uppercut.
When I first learned how to box, they didn't even teach me that. It was just all movement.
It was all just in the beginning. You have to move your feet and how you in stance and how you move. And then that's the first 4 or 5 weeks. That's like a kilo.
Like, am I going to learn how to throw a punch? Like, what am I doing here? Waxing on, waxing off?
And what happens with most people is they get bored.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to learn that.
Yeah, right.
4 weeks into it, I haven't thrown a punch yet. I don't want to learn that. I'm good. Aikido the same way. If you ever take Aikido, the first 4 months of Aikido, all you're doing is getting thrown. I swear to God.
You're like, I'm just going to eat shit every time I come to class.
That's what it is. All you're doing is rolling and getting thrown. Rolling and getting thrown. And they teach you how to fall. And they teach you how to fall. And they teach you how to fall. And you fall 7,500 times. You haven't learned nothing. All you learned is how to hit the ground. I swear to God, for 3 or 4 months.
Get your ass kicked.
And you haven't, and that's all you do. Why? Because it is probably the most important thing in Aikido because every demonstration you do and every technique that you do.
If you get hurt doing that or hurt somebody while they're trying to throw you or whatever, right?
You fall down, and I explain to people, falling down on the mat is one thing. You get into a real fight and you fall down on concrete. Concrete doesn't give, man. Concrete does not give, and I tell you that from my personal experience where I've taken down guys and I've done just a basic takedown where you go down to a knee, come back up, scoop the guy up and down.
You got to be careful how hard you slam him because you slam your own head.
You slam your own body, you slam your own elbow, you bust your knee when it hits the ground. You know what I'm saying?
I would never aggressively attack anyone, by the way.
No.
Just for the record.
Yes. Unless your family was. So, but in that said, if you don't learn how to do things the right way, you end up hurting yourself worse. And whatever it is that you're doing, And that's why I tell people all the time, I was like, okay, even in physical fitness, whatever it is that you're learning, if you don't do it time and time again and prepare the body for it, the day that you do have to do it, you're going to do it.
Right.
I guarantee you're going to do it. Your adrenaline dump is going to hit you. Your heart's going to be racing and your body will just naturally pick the person up or this. But when you're done and that adrenaline runs off and you realize that you tore your hamstring, you tore your shoulder, you tore your back, you're going to wish that you'd done all the things, you know what I'm saying, that you were supposed to have done. And that's how it is, and it happens. It happens because your body naturally, in any situation, an adrenaline, your body's going to do it. So you see a kid, let's say you see an accident and you got to pull somebody out of that car, but the kid's 270 pounds and you got to pull him. But you've never done anything like that in your life. Right. But naturally, the car's on fire and what am I going to do? Well, I got to pull him out. Well, you end up pulling him out. You've never pulled anything in your life. What's going to happen to you? You're going to tear both your biceps. You're probably going to take your back out. Yeah. You still did it. You saved the kid's life. Now you're on the ground like this with 2 torn biceps. Your back's back down, and you're going to end up in the hospital right next to the kid. you know. And I told that to cops all the time.
Yeah.
I say, yeah, you're going to be able to save the guy's life. You will, but you're going to be out for 6 months. You're not going to be able to work overtime. You're not going to be able to work off duty. You're not going to be able to do nothing because you were too goddamn lazy to get under the freaking bench or do something or go running or go do something for your physical fitness. You know what I'm saying? That's part of your job. Do it, you know?
Where can people find you?
Well, I live in Miami. No, Instagram.
I didn't mean like that.
Yeah, right. Instagram, Realworld_Tactical. And then pretty much if you Google for on YouTube or Facebook, Realworld Tactical or Tony Sentmanat, doesn't really matter. It
You've been working on a book?
Yes, I've been working on a book
for a while, right?
A little bit. It's going to be a little while before it comes out. But
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be a book based on my program that I've designed for the last, several years. On the
being
hybrid.
Able to be 250 pounds and run several miles at a time. Exactly. And I think you said you run 3 miles at like
once when I'm doing my conditioning, like a hardcore conditioning,
clip or something like that.
My goal is always at 245, 250. I do 3 miles, 8-minute mile.
Yeah.
So that's a cutoff. I usually do about 3 miles. I don't run any more than that. After that, your knees start to, and your lower
big
back.
Guy,
it's a big dude. Yeah,
gonna be tough.
But you're flying. I mean, as 240 pounds and you're running 8-minute miles, you're booking at that weight. You know, it's pretty fast. I think it's pretty fast.
Anything else you want to plug before we jump off here?
No, man. It's thank you so much for having me. Yeah. It's always a pleasure to come to visit with you, Mark, and to be here at Super Training Gym, the new gym, obviously.
Awesome,
it's always a great time to be here.
I love having you here. I really admire you, look up to you. I appreciate your service for the country and being a police officer for so long. It's awesome, man. It really is. It's really cool.
Thank you. I appreciate
Not enough police officers get a pat on the back. So
yeah,
I really appreciate you a ton. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. See you guys later.
Laters. That was fun.
What's next?